Hello, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the journey on the disturbing musical artist's Iceberg, which I will be starting today. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over the first two tiers, and I think I'm just going to do it in one tier per episode on them, so I can go into more detail. These first two, they're pretty well known and surface level bands, so if you want to do your own research you can. But I will be going into a bit of more detail on some of the ones which I found interesting. As we go down the iceberg, obviously the content gets a lot more darker, so we will be touching on some sensitive topics, so if that's not your thing, feel free to leave. Also, these videos take quite a lot of effort to make, as I have to do all the research, get all the photos, so if you liked it, drop a like please, and why not subscribe. Also, I don't want any comments of anyone saying, well, Slipknot or Korn aren't disturbing. Yes, I know, they're the surface level, just wait until we get deeper, okay? No one thinks you're cool, because you know them bands. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the first tier. This is the complete iceberg. You can take a quick look, I'm going to be showing this at the start of every video, and I'll also have a link to the original photo in the description. But if you glance over the first and second layer, they're pretty well known bands, so let's start on the first one. Okay, the first one is a musical duo named Boards of Canada, consisting of two brothers, Michael and Marcus. As I said, the first one isn't anything, I guess you could call it strange music. Just music that the normal person wouldn't listen to. They would come under the genre of just electronic, so as I said, nothing too weird or out of the ordinary yet. Okay, next band is Slipknot, a metal band formed in Iowa. They are probably one of the biggest nu metal bands in the 90s and the 2000s. I personally like a lot of their stuff, and I think their self-titled album is one of the best nu metal albums, but that's just my opinion. This next one is pretty well known as well, Marilyn Manson, also known as Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids, which was the original name of the band when they formed in Florida in 1989. They have a bit of, well not they, but the frontman has a lot of controversy surrounding him, especially at the moment, but yeah, we're still on some pretty basic stuff. Next band on here is another really well known one, Black Sabbath. They are an English band who were formed in Birmingham in 1968, and I'm pretty sure that they're mainly on here because they would have like influenced a lot of the artists later on, as they are a very classic rock band. I think the other reason they would be on here would be because of Ozzy Osbourne, and I'm pretty sure you all know why he would be on here. Okay, next band on the iceberg is Wien, and they're an American rock band from Pennsylvania formed in 1984. They're probably most well known for their song Ocean Man. You remember when that was popular a few years ago? But apart from that, I would say that they're pretty normal, apart from some of their weird videos, weird lyrics, things like that. Still some pretty basic stuff. Next band on here is another pretty well known one. It's 9 Inch Nails. They formed in 1988 in Ohio and were starting to get slightly weirder now because they are industrial rock, industrial metal, so slightly lesser known genres. Next band on here is Korn, and they are another nu metal band similar to Slipknot, and they formed in 1993 in California. I guess that them and Slipknot would be responsible for the nu metal explosion in the 90s, and again, I really like their stuff. I wouldn't say they're too weird. Give them a listen. This fine gentleman here is Frank Zappa, and he was, get ready for it, an American singer-songwriter, an innovative rock guitarist, a multi-instrumentalist, a composer, a filmmaker, and a band leader. And he's probably most well known because of his freeform improvisation as well as sound experiments, which I guess would later turn into things such as noise music, which there will be a lot of later. Also, as we go along this iceberg, I'm going to try and explain the lesser known genres and what defines them, things like that, just for a bit of insight. And finally, for tier 1, we have Suicide Commando, and that is a Belgian electro-industrial music act which was created by Jean Van Roy in 1986. Not much else to say to it really. Again, it's probably just the most well-known one in the genre, but as we are about to move on to tier 2, the genres will get a bit more niche. Okay, so that is tier 1 done and dusted. We are now going to move on to the second one. The second tier, I would say, is where it gets a lot more disturbing and very fast. So, be prepared. Kicking off tier 2, we have Venetian Snares, also known as Aaron Funk. To put it broadly, he is an electronic act who came from Canada, but this is where we start to get into the more niche genres, as he is one of the, I guess, founders and innovators of breakcore. And what breakcore is essentially, it has core at the end. It'll be pretty good to know, but core basically means hardcore, or it has some hardcore in it from hardcore music, and break referring to sort of dance and disco music. So it's very fast and very aggressive electronic music. I guess I would say that it is similar to hyperpop, but a lot more hyper and a lot less pop. Next on the list, we probably have the most infamous band in history. They are called Mayhem, and they basically invented Norwegian black metal. They formed in Oslo in 1984, and they strongly influenced it, to say the least. And there are a lot of videos on their history, so I'll go over it briefly. Their most famous lineup is this one you're seeing on screen here, with a vocalist dead. He ended up killing himself, and a controversy was stirred when Euronymous, the guitarist of the band and also the founder, took a photo and used it as an album cover. However, it doesn't stop there. Also, a black metalist in the scene, Varg Vikernes, who was under the solo project and still is as Burzum, joined Mayhem to play bass, and he was involved allegedly with a lot of burning down churches and also blowing them up. However, it doesn't stop there, as Varg Vikernes then later went on to kill Euronymous, the guitarist and founder of the band, because of a falling out over the contract, I believe. Also, another member of the band at the time, or someone who was in the black metal scene, also killed someone, which also added controversy to Mayhem and the black metal scene as a whole. On screen now is the current lineup. I believe the only original member is Necrobutcher, who plays bass, I believe. He wasn't present for most of the controversy. He left shortly after Dead's death, but joined again when they started back up after Euronymous' death. Okay, next on the list we have a musical duo called Belong. They're from America and they formed in 2002 and they are experimental. I guess experimental, that genre means they sort of don't have a genre. They just sort of make what comes to them, and a lot of the time it is noise, but it isn't noise music yet. Next on tier 2 we have Gigi Allen, and he was an American punk rock musician and songwriter who performed with a lot of different groups during his career, but is probably most well known for the Jabbers, which he founded in the 80s, I believe. And as you can see from this photo, he was a bit of a, crazy geezer. So that's why I think that he's on this list, mainly because of how out there he was, especially for the time. And fun fact, while he was in prison, I believe Kurt Cobain visited him. Just something to know. Next on the list, we have a band called Swans, and they are an American experimental rock band formed in 1982 by the singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Michael Gira. Again, with the genre being experimental, it sort of means whatever, but because it's experimental rock, it means that it revolves around the rock genre, as you probably would have guessed. Next on this list, we have a very interesting one. This man is called Stephen Rhoden, and he is an American sound and visual artist, and he invented the genre known as lowercase, which is a style of music where it's like unheard sounds, literally the opposite to noise music, which I think is why it fascinated me so much. But yeah, it's a pretty cool guy. I would do some research on him. He's done some cool things. His music is listenable without getting a migraine as well, which is always a bonus. The next band on here is called Wallfires, and they are an American experimental group from Detroit. And they were formed in 1996 by Nate Young, and in the script here I wrote in all caps noise. So I'm guessing that past me wanted me to know that this is the first real noise band on the list. First of many, I would say. And noise music is basically just a bunch of noise, but I don't want to sound disrespectful to the genre because that's seen as sort of a bad thing in music. But that's literally what it is. It is just a bunch of noise all put together. But yeah, there will be a lot of this and a lot more subgenres. Some I'm familiar with, some I am not, so I'm going to do my best to explain them as we go on in this series. This next band is definitely the darkest one so far, and I'm pretty sure that it is pronounced Gulag or Gular or something. They used to be called Staggler, and when they were Staggler, they released one EP and 4 albums. There is currently no photos of the band as they don't allow people to take their photos because they want to remain anonymous. So instead of that, they offered this drawing, which is on screen now, that their vocalist made in a psychotic state, and this was just hours before he killed himself. Their genre would be noise, but I guess they would be classified as extreme noise, as they are not like Wallfires, the previous band covered, as a lot of the noises that were in their material was the screams of things such as mental patients, victims, adult workers, and little kids, let's just say. So yeah, you can see why a lot of people aren't really into this. Finally, on the tier 2 list, we have this band, or this man, let's say, and I don't really feel comfortable saying the name. I guess saying it would make me feel a bit dirty, but I'm just going to call it AC, as they're also known as. You can go back and check, you will know what one it is. But basically this is a grindcore band, which is a subgenre from slam, which is a subgenre from hardcore, which is just, it keeps going. But basically it's just really low, heavy, like guttural, things like that. You can look it up. There's a lot of sister genres, I guess you could say as well, such as porno grind, I believe is one. And I also believe that genres like that, as well as the noise genres, will be the most popular ones as we go down the iceberg. So it might be nice to do a bit of research on them. And that is it. Tier 1 and 2 are done. 52 voiceovers later. But yeah, this has been a very fun video to make. I hope that you like it, and I also hope that you come back for tier 3, which I will be doing soon. I could just make some longer videos, like 20-minute, half-hour ones, covering 2 tiers, but I kind of want to pump them out as quick as possible instead of spending time doing a massive one. I feel like that would benefit you guys more and me more. But yeah, I'm going to try and go into more detail as we go on, as a lot of them have some interesting sort of backstories and history to the band. Also, if I got anything wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. Just don't be a dick about it. So yeah, if I got anything wrong, or if you have anything to add to any of the bands on here, feel free to leave it below, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Stay spooky. 60 voiceovers now.